Okay, well, we'll get started. Welcome everyone tonight to our question and answers with Colin Shutler from UVA Men's Soccer and formerly of Loudoun 98 Red. And thank you everyone for joining on the call tonight. We're really excited to chat with Colin. Really excited to get questions from the audience, questions from our players, our boys and girls players, and any questions from our coaches. Some of you have already turned in questions to your coaches ahead of time, so I'll definitely go through those. But anything that comes up, please feel free to ask and write that in on the text box. So just a little background here for Colin, our guest speaker tonight, obviously. Current UVA goalkeeper is headed into his senior year, and obviously our former player for the 98 Boys Red. Remember 98 Boys Red, four-time state cup champion with that group, went to Briarwoods High School, so obviously local in terms of brought up and raised in Brownton area. Was a member of the U19 men's national team and traveled abroad with that group and was in the pool for a couple of years, played on the regional team, was on the state team for ODP. And then since he's been at UVA has had a ton of success. Last year more so than any other year. Hopefully everyone in the audience got a chance to watch him play in the Final Four for UVA. Some epic games in the semifinal and final. With that came a lot of personal accolades. He was first team All-American, first team All-South, first goalkeeper since Tony Meola to earn first team All-ACC. Some of you guys might remember, some of our coaches will certainly remember Tony Meola, probably one of the top three all-time goalkeepers in the United States. Some other accolades were NCAA All-Tournament team, All-ACC, All-Academic team, really important for us, obviously, and then goals against average and shutouts for the year. So extremely excited to welcome Colin. And with that, Colin, welcome and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Great, really appreciate it. So we'll get through the soccer side of it and what you're currently doing and how things are going for you. But just wanted to check in on yourself and see how family is. You guys moved obviously a couple of years ago, a little bit Western, but how's life there and how's your mom and dad and obviously your brother, a former Loudoun soccer player as well?
We're doing pretty well. Yeah, we moved out to the Percival area, so we have a bunch of open land. So it's pretty nice to go on run, little scenery going on there. And very easy distance from everybody else. But with that being said, it's a little bit of a hike to get to a grocery store, so we need to kind of plan those trips out. You're muted, Jono.
How's Chris doing? Obviously a unique experience for two brothers to be on the UVA Final Four team. For everyone in the audience, Colin's brother Chris also was a member of the team last year. Before that, he was a four-year player at Binghamton University and former Loudoun Soccer 97 player as well, 96 player.
96, yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Obviously, it was very special for us to kind of go through that journey together this past year. He's definitely enjoying the retired life from soccer, focusing on his new job in DC that he's hopefully starting in July. Yeah, gotten a little bit onto the gaming scene as well. But
Good.
Still working out, still doing workouts with me.
Yeah, Colin and Chris were actually on with us 2 weeks ago. We did a Q&A with our goalkeepers, our ECNL boys goalkeepers. So it's great to see you guys bounce ideas off of each other and have some banter going back and forth about the season and pushing each other. So it was really good to see. Just for everyone in the audience, obviously, I'm going to go through some slides with Colin and also hopefully you guys have good sound and good audio and visual. But obviously apologize if there's any interruptions and any internet issues. But first, Colin, how are you guys staying in touch right now with your teammates at UVA? How's the coaches staying engaged with you guys and how are you guys keeping the morale up in the group?
Yeah, so obviously with some NCAA rules, we're not allowed to do some things like send each other videos of us like actually doing some soccer stuff, just how NCAA is. But what they do allow is that our coaching staff is allowed to hold a Zoom meeting once a week with all the guys just to get in, say hello, see how everyone's doing, kind of connect with each other just to make sure that we stay connected. On top of that, myself as well as a few of the other guys have a Bible study going once a week as well. And then on top of that, I reach out to some guys individually just to make sure that morale and motivation is staying high.
Awesome. And obviously guys left UVA when we were shut down to go all over, all over the country. And then I know you guys have a player abroad. You were one game into your spring season. Obviously you had played JMU, I believe, in a scrimmage and had
2 games.
2 games in and had a whole spring season to look forward to. So really disappointing, and I'm sure the players on this call can definitely attest to how that feels in terms of their season being taken away. But how have you dealt with it personally, and how have your teammates dealt with it?
I've been doing pretty well. I mean, obviously after the disappointing end to the fall season, I wanted to get straight back to the pitch, and we were able to do so. Luckily, we had a few early games this spring before our spring break and having to leave UVA. But we've just been going back through some video, just critiquing ourselves. Having Bundesliga on this weekend is going to be very helpful just to watch some live soccer, not just going through some highlights here and there. But just staying in touch with like the soccer scenery, whether that be watching or just getting around the house, doing the little challenges with toilet paper or just a mini soccer ball here and there.
Awesome. That's great. So we're going to talk a little bit about your day, your week, and your plans for, let's call it the off season or the summer season, and how you're going to prepare to go back in the fall to UVA and have your best season ever. And I wanted to share this with the audience. It's something myself and Colin have talked about, and something that we've put together for everyone in kind of the audience to see what discipline it still takes and what the players at the highest level are doing to stay in shape, more or less. So this is a little daily schedule. This isn't exactly what Colin goes through each day, but I think it has a really good points in there for what players should be doing. So Colin, could you talk a little bit about your daily routine? Because the thing that resonated with me the most was the fact that you tried to stick to the same schedule that you would have as if you were still a UVA student at home.
Yeah, for sure. At UVA, we had morning practices, so I was always up at 7, and thankfully my body's still in tune with that because it still just wakes up on itself at 7. So right when I get up, I go straight down to our home gym in the house, do a little workout, make myself some breakfast, and I'll admit I don't really read right now. I don't have a good reading book just to go through. But this is pretty close to what I go through, and I make sure that I get through the stuff that I need to get through in the morning, so that if I do lose a little motivation going into the afternoon, I don't have to like kind of worry about like building that up. So going through the workout in the morning, making myself breakfast, helping mom or dad out with some jobs around the house, making myself lunch, and then having pretty much the whole afternoon to go through some stuff. Hopefully starting grad school, so maybe have to incorporate my my academics into that schedule again. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, when we caught up about some things you've been doing at home, you talked about cooking, and that was a skill that you have developed, while you're at home, but also while you're in college. Talk a little bit to the players about that and how useful that is for you when you are in Charlottesville.
Yeah, so I kind of learned the hard way. I learned my second year summer when I was living by myself at UVA, and I kind of had to provide for myself, and I just gradually learned how to cook, how to just prepare meals, which is very important. And I've started to do that for my family at home here as well. It's a great way to just know what you're putting into your body, because everyone's body is different, and you just need to find the right things to fill your body to make sure that it's good to go.
Makes sense. So we'll talk a little bit about, we talked a little bit about your daily routine, but we'll talk a little bit about how UVA has helped you plan, your daily routines, your workout schedules, and the coming months. And this is something that we've obviously done with our players, with our online at-home workouts, because we're not able to get them to the field, obviously. So we've sent them out workouts where they do from home. We've added live workouts, which is something you guys haven't done yet at UVA, and that's probably a compliance thing. But we've been able to get our players on with certain coaches and give them workouts. So I'll share again with you my screen, and if you can talk through a little bit about some of the information that we talked about in terms of your home training plan.
Yeah, that was very helpful that you guys do live workouts. I find it very useful just to have that extra push and motivation, knowing that you're doing it with the rest of your teammates, because that was always my drive, to just put in the work because everyone else is doing it, and to do it for them. But yeah, so at UVA, we have a very good strength coach, and he's prepared a full at-home workout with tools for players who don't have dumbbells or stuff like that a normal gym would have. But he has us working out pretty much every day, with a rest day on Sunday, doing things and kind of revving up through these next 6 weeks, going into what we hope will be our fall season, to make sure that we're ready to go.
Makes sense. And talk a little bit about these workouts and how you're able to incorporate them into your day, and how you've been able to follow along, and what updates do the coaches give you guys on these workouts. This is obviously your week for 2 weeks ago that I want to share with everyone, and it's got your strength training, it's got your fitness training. And then it obviously goes through your daily schedule for your strength days, and then your on-field fitness training. So talk a little bit about how that's gone from you, or that has gone for you being at home.
Right. So like I said, I do my workouts right there in the morning when I wake up, because that's when I feel like the most motivated to get the work done. Obviously, as this picture shows, we're not able to be on fields right now, so I've gotten a little creative with the running portions, whether it be just doing sprints outside on the road next to my house, or just doing little intervals on the treadmill. I'll go ahead and talk about what my coaches actually brought up this past call a few days ago. Was that a few guys, like I said before, Bundesliga is having games this weekend, and a few guys on Borussia Dortmund and Schalke came in, and their second and third practices back actually tweaked a muscle here and there, so they're not able to play. Whether that be not working out at home, or just not preparing their bodies well, that can be up for debate, but just making sure that you keep your bodies going, so that when you jump into training after this, your body is ready to go and not just being thrown into the deep end of the pool.
Absolutely, yeah. And that goes back to Colin, the schedule that you talked about, the daily schedule that you talked about. Obviously, the difference being right now for our players at home, our boys and girls players have mostly schoolwork in the morning, or online classes or things like that. But then in the afternoons and evenings, that's the time where they should be getting out, working out by themselves, whether it be in their basement, in their backyard, on a school field, whatever kind of field they can find. So talk a little bit about how creative you've got in finding spots to work out. Obviously, you live somewhere where you have access to open land, but what other areas have you used?
Yeah, so I've actually gone back and forth between my house and Aaron's house down in Virginia Beach, and I've been doing workouts on the beach, like runs across the beach, which is a nice change of scenery for me as well, because I do get a little cooped up in this house. But creativeness, I don't know. I have, without my mom's approval, I did drill a pull-up bar into the bottom part of our deck.
There you go. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
But we've been doing, with our younger players, we've been getting really creative with passing exercises. So on Wednesday nights, Coach Darren Patricio does TA from home. So with our younger players, and a lot of his exercises involve, a rebounder or a wall. And so our players have got really creative with what they've been using. Some of them have been using their deck, their couch, a parent, a sibling, a door, whatever it might be. So that definitely falls into that category of being creative. So that's awesome. I'd like to hear it. Just a reminder to the audience, on the right-hand side where you see participants, just make sure you know that you can follow up with questions. And I'll just point you out here. If you have any questions, and I just sent that there, please let me know, and any questions for Colin, and I'll make sure that he gets them from me. And obviously, I said earlier, we had questions from the audience sent into players, sent them into the coaches, so we've used that. But if there's any follow-up questions, please let me know, and I'll get those to them. So great. Well, let me move on to the next piece. Let's talk a little bit about your experience when you first got to UVA. And let's be mindful that when Colin played for the Loudoun 98 Red, they were national finalists, regional champion, state cup winning team, won state cup, 4 state cups in a row. Colin was on the state team, the regional team, and had a stint with the national team. So was highly regarded coming out of high school, and highly touted coming out of high school, and had a lot of opportunities and a lot of options, and picked UVA ultimately. But talk about your freshman year there, and how you prepared yourself to go in there, and the environment that you were walking into, and how you prepared mentally kind of for what you were about to walk into.
Yeah, so I'll be brutally honest. I did not kind of mentally prepare myself for not starting the first year. I wanted to go in thinking that I was the best, and wanted myself to believe that. And when I got there, I just got shot down right away. In my first semester there, I actually took a spell away from the team, off in Serbia with my trip with the national team. And 2 days after that, I got a concussion where I was out for a month. So for the 2 months of practice, I did not spend any of it with my new teammates, which kind of put a damper on. And it felt like everyone already had kind of relationships when I was feeling like the newcomer coming into a team. But all that aside, coming in, I knew the starter at the time had 2 more years, and that kind of filtered in with the decision I made to go to UVA. He was also a highly rated player, played for the U.S. national team as well under Zach Steffen. And after my first semester there, I just took it upon myself to just kind of see him as my mentor, and he kind of mentored me through the next 2 years. Through training, kind of developed my training habits a lot better than what I used to have at Loudoun. You can ask Mark and Jono about that. But just the understanding that I was able to give myself of just being like taking every rep in practice and not like taking it for granted, and just being able to learn from that with an open mind.
Makes sense. And would you say that that learning experience came from you dealing with that, or was it the coaches that kind of instilled that in you? Because I think what's really important for our players to understand is when you get to college and you get to that level, sometimes you're an afterthought when it comes to being the backup or not the starter, or on game day you don't get reps or you don't get minutes. So how can our players help prepare themselves for walking into that kind of situation?
For sure. You can be definitely felt like you're forgotten at times, and just having a mindset where you're trying to get as many reps in during practices like as you can. There was multiple times where I came up to the goalkeeper coach to ask for more reps when training was done, running late to class maybe once or twice, to where he had to start turning me down from getting extra practice because I thought I was overworking myself. But just having the mindset that you're trying to get into every practice, getting as many reps as you can is the best way to put it.
Gotcha. And talk a little bit about the recruiting process. Being on a good club team helped, and having, coaches who would be familiar with certain colleges and what universities might fit your attributes helped. But ultimately, what drew you to UVA? How did they end up offering you a spot there? And how did that come about?
UVA, of course, was one of my first and only options that my parents gave me, being UVA graduates themselves. But I did reach out to many other college programs, emailing them weeks before each tournament, just trying to get them to come see me. Just any type of exposure was incredible. And being at Loudoun on the team that I was, exposure wasn't that much of a problem, thankfully. UVA, on the other hand, they were kind of distant during the year, during the fall semester. Obviously, they were in season at that point. And they switched coaching staff, who I was talking to at one point, but thankfully they were in touch with each other because the next guy coming in knew who I was very open to talking to me, recruiting me, and all of that. And funny enough, they were actually in England on their abroad trip when I finally got the call offering me a position.
Awesome. Yeah. So take us back a little bit to the youth soccer days in Loudoun, and you've really always been a goalkeeper, right? From probably U12, U11.
Around there, yeah.
Yeah. And when did it become clear or obvious to you, or when did you really set your goals on becoming a Division I player? And did your brother have a part to play in that too? Because, obviously him being a goalkeeper as well, and him probably striving for the same opportunities you were, how did that help, and when did that click in?
Yeah. Being goalkeeper, I wouldn't say was I wouldn't say it was my first option. I didn't start out as a goalkeeper. I played center back for a spell and striker for a few years, even after I became a goalkeeper. But being a brother, having that competition between us really helped me just strive, and just the competitive side of me, and always wanting to play with his team, which was the older team, and just being able to play with those guys really helped me out. And him going to a pretty good D1 program himself kind of set the road for me to try to one-up him in a way, as I've been trying to do my whole life.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. Talk a little bit about that friendly competition. Sometimes unfriendly competition, whether it be the success of your team or individual success. And then, one summer, actually 2 summers, we had you both on our Pro 23 team, and you guys split halves. Sometimes unfriendly, other times the best of buddies. would always drive to practice in separate cars, which I found really funny. But talk a little bit about that friendly competition and ultimately how he ended up at UVA and you know, helped you with your year last year.
Yeah, I was going to start off saying it's not always friendly competition with me and him. As you can attest to, we would get into some fighting matches at goalkeeper training back in the days, not knowing what we were up to. But yeah, sometimes riding in separate cars was from just ongoing fights from home where we just didn't want to ride together or something just came up with that. But when he went off to college, we always kept in touch. Like after every game, I would text him or call him, talk about it. He, of course, didn't want to hear my feedback critiquing him, but I, of course, gave it willingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, after every game, when we were at separate campuses, we would always stay in touch, just talking about games, trying to watch each other when schedules didn't conflict. And when the coaches brought up a possibility of bringing him in and being one of my teammates was definitely one of my happiest moments at UVA, honestly. Just having him back and just being a role model and having him there as support I was very grateful.
Awesome. Great. We'll talk about some of your fondest memories at Loudoun before we get into more college questions. And I'd like to just share a picture. I haven't showed Colin, but just like to share a picture with the audience. You can see that, Colin?
Yeah, I can see it.
So hopefully we have Coach Keith Neal on the call, and hopefully some of his players are on here, his 05s and his 04s. But Coach Keith had the team, and on that team, Colin, if you can see closely, but you have, I believe, 7 Division I players on that team. This was before the birth year change, and then obviously we got yourself. That's probably U12, I believe, on the right-hand side playing in goal, because the goals are small, obviously, before you went to 11v11.
Yeah,
talk about that experience. Yeah, talk about that experience and playing at Loudoun, and what are some of your fondest memories of that?
All I can say is I don't remember much from those days. I just remember when the first day or the first time that I was with that team and there was a rain out, I was happy because my body was so beat up from working out so much and practicing with that team, although I absolutely loved it. And the first text that I was texting some of the guys and I was like, oh, I'm so happy, like it's rained out, like I need a rest. And they're like, oh no, like this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. And Keith sends out an email, meet at Bless Park, and we had those back road runs back there, which are definitely engraved.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Things are, I can't say they've changed. We do use bowling when it gets rained out to run and do different things. Guys improvise all the time. But, you know, LSP only came on, obviously, online towards, you know, your last couple of years, but obviously bowling was there. Talk about some great moments that you and your teammates had, whether it be state cup, regionals, nationals, and some of your fondest memories.
Oof. To go in the archives for those. I don't remember much from the younger days with Keith, except for a lot of running and seagulls. I remember that, but I remember always thinking when Mark came in to start coaching us, I was always thanking Keith because every single game we would just wear out teams and he would always just compliment our fitness. And I think that just shows how brilliant Keith was to just kind of engrave that into us and have that a part of our play style. And there's one very good memory I have, even though I did get a concussion during this day. We had 3 90-minute games in one day. 2 games the day before. This was a Sunday of a tournament. and we played two teams that were also probably within the top 10 of the U.S., although they were local. And our third game was against our rivals, Arlington, which I'm sure everyone knows about. But going into the third game, we had probably 8 guys hurt out already because of just the continual beating of all these games. And during that third game, like I remember I got hurt in it as well, and I didn't play the second half because I got stepped on in the shin until I begged Coach Mark to put me back in for PKs, and he finally let me. And I'm sure you remember this. There's actually a video of this on YouTube. We ended up winning the tournament in PKs, but on the second PK, I dove straight into the post, right in my head. And I remember lifting the trophy afterwards, bringing it home, and within 15 minutes of being home, I knocked out on my brother's bed just sitting there without eating dinner or anything.
That's awesome. Good. So that that team and how competitive it was. Talk about some of the challenges and experiences and adjustments that you had to make going from club and high school to playing in college, both on the field and off the field, whether it be schoolwork, studying by yourself, study hall, and then on the field. Obviously, we talked already about playing time, but in terms of the speed of play, the game, those kind of things.
Right. And I think Loudoun prepared me the most I could have been prepared. As Mark always said, like with our team, the best players that I'm going to play against are in practice. So I got really good work every single day when I was out there with them. But jumping into college was a whole different animal in itself. I kind of got, well, as I said, I was gone for a little while with the national team, and I got a concussion. So working back into practices after that probably wasn't the best way to kind of have a perspective on. But it was hard. It was a lot faster, just learning all the new names, of course, learning all the kind of putting together all the new styles of play. But when you get to college, like you guys probably all think like you guys are the better ones on your team going to play college. But at the college that you're going to, like every single player there has the exact same mentality as you. So there's going to be a lot of butting heads. Kind of egos, well, for other people, butting into each other. But off the pitch, kind of caring for yourself, making sure that you're on to practice. I'm sure all of you with a driver's license knows that you have to be there on time as it is. But some of you guys will be practicing in the morning, have to wake up at a certain time, or just get there. Make sure that you get all your work done throughout the day so that you can get there on time in the afternoon. It's just a whole different lifestyle, I guess, not relying on other people to kind of help you in that, but just making sure that you're on top of everything by yourself. And time management becomes a huge piece when you get to college as well.
Yeah, that time management piece. And we have about 5 or 6 minutes left. So please, if there's any additional questions, just fill them in the box. But that time management piece, talk about that when it comes to the college soccer season. Obviously, you've done really well academically at UVA, but talk about how you've managed the fall season, playing games, travel in the ACC, a social life, a girlfriend, and, the ability to perform at a high level every single week in the ACC and in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so obviously it is a challenge, and I try to set myself up so that I have the easiest way possible. So when it is in the fall during the in-season, I have the least load for academics, which means I was there for 3 summers in a row doing classes so that I didn't have to take as many credits during the fall season, so I could focus on taking care of my body or social aspects so that I wasn't as stressed when I got onto the playing field. And then when I crossed that line for soccer, like it's just a whole different mentality. Like mind switches on and stress relief, everything. You just got to be focused.
Awesome. Sounds great. So Colin, talk a little bit to us about, your summer plans. Obviously, the goal is we get back on the field. Everyone on the call, yourself, your UVA teammates, MLS games, Premier League games, all those kind of things. So talk to us about your plans for the summer, your goals for the fall, and then what happens after the fall season.
Right. So right now we're my whole team is being optimistic about having a fall season. So we're kind of preparing our bodies, like I said, with our strength coach before. We're starting at a baseline. So we're all taking like baselines this week and kind of working ourselves up through these next 6 weeks until we get back onto campus in August. So just kind of preparing my body for that, gradually getting back into training with laws letting us do so. Other summer plans, hopefully going out to train with a few MLS clubs, depending on their schedules and everything. Fall goals, definitely want another shot at that national championship. Just slipped through our fingertips this past season. We definitely have a good crew coming in and everything like that. And then after the fall, it's strictly focused on getting my body and mindset for going pro and getting drafted.
Awesome. That sounds great. And we obviously will be 100% behind you with that and will help in any way that we can. And obviously it was great cheering for you and Chris and Brett last season in the tournament run. And I remember being on bus trips with a lot of the people on the call here, a lot of the coaches and all the players, watching the ACC tournament games. We're on bus trips down in North Carolina, South Carolina, and then in hotels watching games that you were playing in. It was awesome. Last question from me. What advice can you give to any of our players on the call? So we have, mostly high school players age. We've got some seniors who are headed off to play in college. We've got freshmen. What advice would you give to yourself if you were in their shoes again 3 or 4 years ago as a high school student, as a Loudoun soccer player?
In these times, for sure, I would say definitely take the time that you're given at home and learn how to cook, learn all the aspects of your body, like how your body responds to different types of food and like fueling wise, and just getting on a normal routine and just getting your body into a good routine so that you don't have to kind of play up about getting motivation here and there. So that you're kind of just like going with the flow and getting your body and mind right for when you're back on the pitch, hopefully soon. Gotcha.
And what about soccer specific? What did you do in the summers when your coaches weren't there? And how did you prepare, for that fall season of club?
During the summers, I kept in touch with a few teammates, going out to fields whenever we could. I know that's not available right now, but when things open up, just getting as many touches in, like just having the love for the game and getting out, getting as many touches as possible, getting your runs in, making sure you're doing all the right things so that when you get back onto the pitch, you're ready.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, Colin, it's been a pleasure catching up. It's great to have you on the call. Thank you to all of our families, all of our Loudoun soccer families, our players, our coaches, and everyone who joined on tonight. Hopefully, you've taken some great information away from this. Hopefully, it helps you with motivation as you head into the next couple of weeks here with training sessions by yourself, with our virtual training, with our online stuff that we've provided for you. And as Colin said, you know, keep at it yourself, find a way to train, find a way to stick to the same schedule that you would have as if you were in school and it was a normal day, and do all the things at home that your parents obviously ask you to do. So again, thanks, Colin, for being on tonight and spending your time with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll certainly we'll certainly follow all your progress.
Of course. Thank you for the support. Thanks for having me on.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.